Let me know if you can see and hear me. Am I coming through all right on your end? Lisa, yes. Okay, great. Um, Dawn, yes. Okay, cool. So I believe you're seeing me at the bottom of the screen, a presentation above me, which is all good. So, welcome to the webinar, everyone. In the chat before we got started here, Lisa was saying that AI is pretty new to her. And the reality is, it's new to all of us. This is not something that has been around for all that long. This is really groundbreaking stuff. And so, that's one of the reasons I wanted to do today's presentation. I don't have a course on using AI to write. I have a group coaching program called First Draft, and in it, this topic has been coming up a lot, and there's been a lot of passionate discussions about it. And so I wanted to go over my experiences using AI to support writing, but in a way that is not having my book written for me, which I don't think any of us want. So let's dive into the presentation. There we go. All right. So, welcome to the training, everyone. Always glad to have you here. You've made a great decision to be here today. I am writing coach Kevin T. Johns. If you haven't met me before, I work with writers from all around the world to get ideas out of their heads onto the page and into readers' hands. I'm also an author myself. I have a writing instructional book, a mindset focused book called Smash Fear and Write Like a Pro. I've got another one called The Novel Writer's Blueprint. I'm also a fiction author. I have a young adult horror novel called The Page Turners and its sequel, The Page Turners Economy of Fear. I have a free book called Novel Advice, Motivation, Inspiration, and Creative Writing Tips for Aspiring Authors. I give that one away on my website. So if you're on this webinar right now, you should have this book already. If not, let me know and I'll get you an e-copy of that one. I've written a dark thriller called M School. That's kind of one end of the spectrum in which I've worked, horror, thriller, darkness. And then I've also written a children's picture book called Rocket Princess versus Snaggletooth the Dragon. So in the world of fiction, I've worked with clients in every genre, and I've published work in many different genres myself. I've also worked as a ghostwriter, primarily working in the leadership and small business space, writing books there. And I have a podcast called The Writing Coach. Hey, Daniel, welcome to the call. Um, a podcast called The Writing Coach. I often moderate panels at conventions here in Ottawa, Canada, where I live. And I have a free 4-week program called Story Plan Intensive. And we're kicking that off the first week of September. So, in about a week's time, that program kicks off. And if you haven't taken Story Plan yet, I highly encourage you to do it. If you're at the planning stage of a book, it's going to be the perfect program to help you plan. If you've already done a draft but have never done an outline, it's going to help you reverse engineer your story and really ensure that the fundamentals are there. So check that out, free of cost, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. And of course, I am a writing coach. That is the capacity that I'm in today as I try to teach you a little bit about how to use AI ethically to support your writing. Now, is anyone familiar with the software AutoCrit? It's a fiction editing software that's came out a few years ago, I believe. Nope. Okay. Well, it's a cool program. I use it at times to analyze my work and my writer's work. And they have webinars once in a while where they announce new features that they're adding to AutoCrit, new tools that writers can use. And I don't know if you've noticed, but in the last year, AI has been everywhere, and every company has been upgraded, saying, "Oh, we now have AI, and you can now use AI to do this, or now use AI to do that." And so I went on this AutoCrit webinar, and what they did was they announced this big new feature in AutoCrit, this program for writers, and they said, we're adding AI to AutoCrit. It's going to be able to help you write your story. And I got to tell you, I feel like the folks at AutoCrit really uh misjudged their audience's reaction. I think they thought people were going to be through the roof so excited about this addition of AI to their software. And I got to tell you, it was nothing but concerns in the chat. Writers don't want AI to write their books for them. The rest of the world might be happy when they hear, oh, I don't have to write referral letters anymore. Now the AI can write it for me. Or now I don't have to write a reference letter for a student to go to university. The AI can do it for me. But we're writers. We like to write. We don't want machines, artificial intelligence, to do the writing for us. Hey, Lisa, I see your comment. I believe this is recording. Hopefully, it's recording, and it will. The replay will go out pretty shortly afterwards, after we're done, hopefully. But that's the thing, right? Technology. I'm never 100% that everything's working, right? And so, why would you put your faith in this new technology like AI? A lot of concerns accompany it as well. This idea of myself, my job is teaching writers, and my job is writing books. If AI starts writing books, it already is, but if it starts writing all the books, I'm out of a job on two fronts, right? So I have a lot of concerns about AI. There's also tons of concerns in terms of what is the impact going to be on society? How is, the capitalist system going to function when AI is doing jobs for everyone? We don't know, and I don't think the creators of this AI know yet either. We are in a really interesting time. I think this is the biggest leap forward technologically since the smartphone and the social media that followed it. And anyone who was around a decade ago remembers when social media came out, everyone thought it was the coolest, best new thing that was going to unite the world and make the world better. I think most people have come to the realization that that was not the case. The technology did not live up to the promise to make things better. And so I think there's more hesitation now with this AI to say, oh, is this going to make the world even worse? And it might make the world worse for writers. So when I was first hearing about this AI, I did not want to touch it because it really felt like the enemy to me, the enemy of creativity, the enemy of writers, the enemy of everyday people who need jobs to pay for food for their families. That said, as a writing coach and as a writing instructor, I feel like it's my responsibility to go out in the world, see what's out there, and then bring the best tools, templates, ideas, concepts back to my clients and then present it to them in an understandable manner. And I felt like by turning my back on AI, I wasn't doing my job as a teacher. And so slowly over the last 3 or 4 months, I've been experimenting here and there with AI and with Chat GPT, the main free AI software that's out there. And as a writer and as a teacher and as a creative, I am extremely sensitive to plagiarism. I'm extremely sensitive to someone passing off someone else's writing or a robot's writing as their own. I'm extremely sensitive to people's work being read by a computer and then fed to a person without it being credited. All of these things are concerns of mine. But what I have found is several ways in which I have found AI helpful to me and my clients in a way that doesn't feel creepy to me, in a way that doesn't feel dishonest to the reader, in a way that just replicates things I'm already doing in other means, only quicker, faster. And so that's what I want to share with you today. I don't have the answer in terms of AI, if it's going to be a bad or a good thing. What I do have the answer, though, is that there are things that it can do to help us as writers get our work done more efficiently. And as a writing coach, that's my job, to find the things that make your life easier as a writer so that you can create in a more fun and focused and flexible manner. And so that's what I want to lay out for you folks today. Now, if you are on the side of being reticent about using AI because it's an evil robot that's going to rise up and overthrow humanity, I think when we hear about AI, we all get this idea that it's like the Terminator, right? That it's going to become sentient and come after us. Maybe it is. I'm not saying it isn't, but for now, it is just a tool. And so, writers, while they don't want AI writing books for them, writers at the same time aren't afraid to use tools and software to support their writing. So I want you to ask yourself, have you ever researched something for your book on Wikipedia? Have you ever used an online dictionary like dictionary.com or a thesaurus website? Have you used something like One Stop for Writers, which is an excellent resource from the creators of the Emotional Thesaurus? It's a website where you can go look up an emotion, and then they'll have listed for you physical manifestations of that emotion. And so, if someone's jealous, you can go to One Stop for Writers, look up jealous, and it'll say cheeks flushed, whatever, sweat on brow, right? Give us little ideas of how we can express things physically that are happening emotionally. AutoCrit, I already mentioned. So, AutoCrit is an editorial tool that helps you do some analysis of your writing. That it's more on the fiction side of things. Pro Writing Aid is a very popular editorial tool on the nonfiction side of things. Grammarly, I've been using Grammarly for probably 5 years, and to the point where I don't even think about it. It's a grammar checker. It's working while I'm writing. It's working in emails. If I had a typo in these slides, it would probably catch that as well. It's just a computer software that's helping me write better. And even if you're not paying for something like Grammarly, maybe you're not an editor or a coach like me, you don't need to pay for it. You've almost certainly used Microsoft Word, Apple Pages, Google Docs, or Scrivener's built-in spell checker and grammar checker. So I'd like you to reconceptualize your thinking around AI and think much less Terminator and much more just another tool like a Wikipedia, like an online dictionary, like a spell checker that we can use to check our work or to help us write things easier. Okay, so I'm going to close down the slideshow here and I'm going to switch over to Chat GPT. And we're going to do some examples here of how I think you can use AI in a really interesting and fun way with your writing. So just let me do the little technical switch over here. Okay, so I think in a moment here you're going to be able to see. Yes, okay. So ChatGPT is the main open software anyone can use that's been pioneering this AI technology. So if you want to check it out, head on over to chat. Actually, no, I'm already logged in. I believe you just go to OpenAI. Let's take a look. OpenAI.com. You go here and you set up an account and you get free access to the chatbot ChatGPT. I'm using the ChatGPT 3.5, which is the free software. You can upgrade to a paid software. I think it's $20 a month or something. I have not seen any need to do that yet, but the option is there. And also, I do want to make it clear, they are monetizing, right? When we were talking about this in my group program recently, people were like, oh, they're just trying to get you hooked. They're trying to get you hooked, and then they're going to spring the payment on you. Well, I don't think they're being nefarious in that way. They're already giving you the option to purchase, and it's right up front here, so that doesn't bother me. And this is really coming out of open source experimentation that's been around since the internet's been around. People develop software and release it for free and see what happens. And this one just happens to be world changing. So let's start playing with ChatGPT here and see what sorts of things we can do or what sort of questions we can ask it to help us out with our writing. Now, first off, let's start out with, say, there's a quote that you love. Well, actually, someone give me a quote. Does anyone have a quote from a book that you can type into the chat? Let me know like your favorite quote from your favorite writer. Go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay, perfect. So Tina gave us, and I walked the road less traveled. Now, let's say Tina has always loved that quote, but she couldn't quite remember where she actually read it or who wrote it. So maybe she is writing a blog post and she wants to use this quote in a blog post or in an article or in a book, and she wants to remember who wrote it. Well, she can go over the chat GPT and say, who wrote "And I walked the road less traveled"? And chat GPT gives us the line, "And I took the one less traveled by," is from the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. The correct wording is slightly different from what you've provided, but it's a commonly misremembered phrase. The poem was published in 1916 and is one of Frost's most well-known and frequently anthologized works. It's often interpreted as a reflection of choices and the paths we take in life. So this is something I've found quite useful, especially with my nonfiction clients. Often we're using quotes or we're using phrases that are so commonplace that we kind of just take them for granted. But if we're going to publish a book or publish anything using a quote, I'm a stickler for proper citation. And so this is technique number one that I've found use GPT useful for researching quotes. We know something and it helps us narrow down exactly to who wrote it and when. Now, here is a really cool thing that I think is so much fun. Everyone in the chat, write down one of your favorite books. Yeah, Tina, very much like a wiki, only, a couple less clicks, right? Like we probably could have gone over to Google, typed it into Google, and within a click or two got the same information, right? Just another tool. Like Google, we get it a different way. All right, so we got Wuthering Heights. Great. What else we got? Let me hear some of your guys' favorite books. Fight Club. Love it. I think, check it out. I have Fight Club soap. I don't know if the camera gets it, but that's a 24-year-old piece of soap when Fight Club came out. I got that at a press conference or something. Gone with the Wind. I am such a nerd. It's so true. Gone with the Wind. Okay. So pretend we're writing an article, we're writing a book, and we're referencing all of these documents. Or all of these books, if you've ever written nonfiction or if you've ever had to do a works cited page, even thinking back to university or something, you had to do works cited. It's, at least in my experience, it's my least fun part of writing, having to figure out what's the proper MLA format to do all this stuff. What year was it originally published? Oh, is this a reprint? Blah, 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 blah. Well, this is what I've started doing with ChatGPT. Check this out. Give me the MLA citations for Wuthering Heights, Fight Club, and Gone with the Wind. Okay, and it's giving us all of the information about the books right here, just like that. Again, we could have gone to Wikipedia and got this stuff, or we could have looked it up elsewhere. But again, just so easy. And I would push it even further. I would say, give me the same information, but using proper MLA style for a works cited page. There we go. So that's what I was looking for, right? Author last name first, then first name, the name of the book in italics, the publisher, the year it came out. This, I can now take those three things and drop them into the works cited page in my book. Just one of those kind of annoying researchy type tasks that I would rather let the AI do it for me. These are the books I cited in my book, and here's them properly cited using an official style guide, and you can choose whatever style guide you want. And something people often come up with this stuff, something will respond to this stuff is like, yeah, but it could be wrong, right? It learned this stuff from the internet, and maybe Wuthering Heights wasn't published in 2002. In fact, I know it wasn't originally published in 2002, right? So this must be referring to a reprint of it. So it's not like we can just do this and say, oh, the work's all done for us, right? Like, yes, you need to double check things, especially if you're going to be an author. People turn to authors as a source of authority, right? So I'm not saying ChatGPT is going to give us all the answers and it's going to be perfectly correct all of the time, but I can tell you we got to this way quicker than if we had gone to Wikipedia and looked up when it was published and look up the publisher and all of that. So that's technique number 2 that I'm using ChatGPT for. It's great for bringing together works cited sections of books. Okay, so I know some of you have done story plan already. Is there anyone here who hasn't done story plan yet and maybe you're thinking about it? I mean, I would encourage you to, but let me know if you've done story plan program or if you have not yet. No. Okay, Laura hasn't. Laura, you got to do it. We're starting in a week's time. So, Tina, I don't think you've done it. Okay, I'll tell you guys more about that at the end of this presentation. But for now, I'll let you know it's my 4-week program where we're going to try to plan an entire book in 4 weeks or less. And we end the program with a really awesome outline for your book, but you've also learned some craft along the way. And so how the program works is Monday to Friday, you get training videos in your email from me. Then or Monday to Thursday, I suppose. And then Fridays, you get a homework assignment. Now, in the first week of the program, we focus in on genre. We focus in on conventions. We focus in on iconography. Now, what I've been doing in the past is when people struggle with, say, iconography for the genre of book that they want to write, I'd send them over to tvtropes.com. So TV Tropes is an amazing wiki website with tons of information about fiction. And if you click around enough, you can find, say, rom-coms, and then you can look up conventions of rom-coms or things you often see in rom-coms. And so previously with Story Plan, I was encouraging people to do research on their own. I was directing them to the website, TV Tropes. Another great way to do it, folks, if you want to get to know any genre really well, really quickly, movie marathon. It's the quickest way to do it. If you want to learn about cyberpunk, rent the top 3 cyberpunk movies or find them on Netflix or whatever, watch them with a pen and paper, and anytime you see the same thing repeating in all 3 of those movies, those are the conventions of that genre. But now, because of ChatGPT, that homework assignment has become so much easier. Okay, so someone in the chat, give me a genre of a book that you're working on or would like to work on. Thriller, great. Okay, so in Story Plan, in week 1, we could say, what are the conventions of a thriller? Now, let's go over to ChatGPT and say, what are the conventions of a thriller, let's say novel, since we're writers here. High stakes, suspense. The protagonist does this, the antagonist does that, plot twists, mystery, action, a ticking clock, multiple perspectives, atmosphere, red herrings, ethical dilemmas, technological intrigue, an emotional roller coaster. Okay, now, the secret of story plan is I give you these homework assignments, but it's not like high school. I'm not testing you to see if you were paying attention. What I'm trying to do is, and I mean, what I am doing, because I know this program works, I do it effectively. What I'm doing is stimulating idea generation for your book. And so now, for Tina, if Tina, you want to write a thriller, here's 14 ideas that you can start thinking about that might stimulate creativity to go write your book. You might have already thought about your book, but you might go, maybe I need to add an ethical dilemma of some kind to this book. Or maybe you think, you know what? I think it's pretty clear who the bad guy is right from the start. I better add some red herrings to this thriller. And so you can see now how AI is not writing our book for us, but it is opening up creativity. It is stimulating ideas, which StoryPlan is all about. And so I love this idea because, like I said, I'm not testing you to see if you know well, let's go. Okay, so Vicky gave us urban fantasy. So what did we do? Conventions of a thriller novel. Okay, let's think about iconography now. Let's go. What is some iconography of the urban fantasy genre? Urban landscapes, hidden worlds, supernatural beings, magic spells, artifacts and relics, crossover and hybridity. It's going so fast, guys. Crossover, hybridity, protagonist's journey, hidden identities, urban decay and grit, mystery and investigation, clashes of cultures, chosen ones, parallel worlds and dimensions, concealed magic. All right. So again, we had some conventions of the thriller. Now we have iconography of the urban fantasy story. And the way I teach genre is I like to think of genre as a sandbox. You are saying, as an artist, I'm going to work within the confines of this sandbox. And the iconography is kind of like the action figures and the toys that you get to play with, right? And so you can pop over to ChatGPT and find out if you want to write a certain type of story, what sort of toys you have available with you to play with. And ultimately, genre is a contract with your reader. Ultimately, when you say, I'm writing an urban fantasy, you are not telling the reader it's kind of this style of book. What you're saying is this is probably going to have artifacts in it. This is probably going to have spells and magic. This is probably going to have urban landscapes. And so if you're presenting something as one genre and you're not hitting on these iconographic ideas and concepts, you're probably not going to please your reader. So again, great way that we can use AI to support our writing, to stimulate ideas, to help us get to that planning and creativity and writing stage faster. But I think you'll agree, this is very far removed from the Terminator writing a book for me and taking over my job, right? Okay, next up. Every writer has different uh, aspects of the craft that they're better at and aspects that they struggle more with. I would say personally, I'm extraordinary at macro level story planning. I can sit down and plot out a solid novel in like an hour and a half. It's really where one of my strengths lie. And I think it's probably why I'm a good coach is I have that I can take that big picture perspective as well as zoom in to the line by line editorial stuff. But to me, that doesn't necessarily come as natural to me. It's a skill that I've learned. The point being, Everyone has things that they're good at, everyone thinks that they're bad at. Personally, I'm not a huge fan, or I'm not particularly good at describing environments. And environments are something we need in every scene of our story. Otherwise, characters are just floating in space. Daniel, who's on our call, if that is Daniel Pierce, who I think it is, or Peace, um, he's an incredible author, and this is one of his absolute skills. He's absolutely incredible at describing environmental locations. So this particular AI chat, Daniel doesn't need, but I sure do. So someone in the chat, name an environment that a scene could take place in. Just any location. Seashore. Okay, great. So when I think seashore, I think sand, rocks, seashells, seagulls, the smell of sea salt. So those are kind of the things that immediately come to mind. But maybe that's all kind of played out, or maybe, I want to push it a little further. Well, let's go to ChatGPT and say, what sort of things would I see at the seashore? Beach, waves, seashells, rocky formations, tide pools, marine life, seaweed, kelp, beach plants, sand dunes. Okay, so it's going crazy here. It's got a million of them, right? Some of those I hit on, right? Uh, uh Sand, seashells, rocks, those were all things I said, right? But I didn't think about tide pools. I didn't think about kelp and seaweed washing up on shore. These are little details that I could now add to my scene set along the seashore. And here's the thing, our go-to instinct when describing environments is always sight. But as writers, we need to lean into those other senses. All right. So maybe since I already came up with most of this stuff right off the top of my head, maybe asking what I would see at the seashore isn't that helpful. How about what might I smell at the seashore? Salt water, seaweed and kelp, sunscreen and coconut. I didn't think of that. Damp sand, sea breeze, driftwood, beach grass, campfires. Okay, so again, when we're building out a scene our books and we want environmental descriptions, here's a great example of where we can lean into smells. We can do this exact same thing. What might I taste at the beach? What might I hear at the beach? And so again, idea stimulation. It's not writing the book for us, it's not writing the scene for us, but it is helping stimulate the types of things we might see or hear or touch or feel in a certain environment. We can also do things like what One Stop for Writers does. As I mentioned, One Stop for Writers is from the creators of the Emotional Thesaurus. And so you can go to their website, look up an emotion, and they'll give you some physical manifestations of it. Unfortunately, I think they were doing that through brainstorming. The two authors of those incredible books were sitting down and they were thinking, this is what happens when you get angry. This is what happens when you're nervous. This, right? And now AI can do that in a second. So give me an emotion, folks. Give someone in the chat, give me an emotion. Jungle anxiety. What is that? What's jungle anxiety? I guess I'm about to find out. Or is that an oopsie? Okay. Oh, jungle is the from the last environment. Yes. Okay. Cool. So say you're writing a scene and your character is anxious, and maybe in the first draft you wrote Tina is anxious or Tina was anxious. Character verbed emotion is one of the sentence phrasings that I'm the least fan of. I always hate it when I read character was emotion. John was sad. Susan was happy in my client's writing. So much, most of the time it's better to give the reader physical manifestations of that emotion as opposed to just telling us what the character was feeling. So let's ask ChatGPT, what are some external physical manifestations of anxiety? Muscle tension, restlessness, nervous habits, sweating, trembling, shaking, rapid heartbeat, shortness of breath, dizziness, an upset stomach, headaches, changes in skin color, dry mouth, clenched jaws, fatigue. Okay, so now for Tina's scene in which her character is feeling anxious, she's got 16 different physical manifestations here that she can have her character going through. Maybe her character's mouth is getting dry because she's clenching her jaw so much. Maybe she's rubbing her forehead because she feels a headache coming on and her stomach is feeling upset, right? Again, just really helpful little um idea generators here that we can use again to carry that over to our scenes. And to me, coming over here and going, oh, an upset stomach is a sign of nausea, and then going and writing a scene about an anxious character, or it's a sign of anxiety, going over and writing a scene about a character who is feeling anxious and who has an upset stomach. Ethically, I feel perfectly fine with that. I don't feel like I'm plagiarizing anything. I don't feel like I'm being dishonest with the reader. I'm just using a research tool to help stimulate ideas that I'm going to use for details in a scene that I write. Now, is anyone here a historical writer? Anyone here writing historical? Dabbling. Okay, what era are you dabbling into, Tina? 1870. Perfect. Okay, great. So, where in the world is your 1870 story set? Is it England or America or something else? Canada? Is it Canada? Is it roughing it in the bush? No, it's Africa. Okay, let's do it. Okay, what type of chores might someone have on the average day in Africa in 1870? Daily chores would vary significantly depending on specific regions, cultures, social contexts, but it might involve agricultural work, fetching water, food preparation, gathering firewood, caring for children, household maintenance, craftsmanship, farming and livestock care, textile work, hunting and gathering, trading and market activities, cultural and ritual activities, building and construction, community engagement. Now, if Tina's writing a book about 1870s Africa, I hope she's researching it extensively, right? I'm not saying this is going to tell you what it was like to be in Africa in 1870 to the point that you're going to be able to write a book about it. But if Tina has 50 scenes she needs to write for her novel about 1870s Africa, people need to be doing things in those scenes, right? And so maybe there's a trading at the market scene, maybe there's a hunting and gathering scene, maybe there's farming and livestock care. So again, this is a quick little research tool that we can then carry over into our historical storytelling. I know Daniel, his he's writing books set in the 1980s. And so Daniel could really easily do something like um what I mean, and guys, I've been using the really simple prompts here. You can continue to refine these questions. You can continue to ask them in different ways to get different answers. So we could do something like, I'm writing a detective novel. It's really hard to think and talk and spell at the same time, so bear with me, folks. I read a detective novel set in 1986. What type of American iconography should I include in the story so the reader is clear the era in which it is set? So here's some fashion trends that were going on at the time: acid wash jeans, shoulder pads, Michael Jackson, Prince, Bon Jovi, Walkmans, VHS tapes, bulky computers, E.T. the movie, right? So again, I get a little bit excited by this stuff because I think this is so far divorced from our worst fears about what this could be and what it might eventually become. But where it is right now is a really fun and kind of exciting uh research tool, and that's how I'm approaching it, and that's how I am using AI in a way that's comfortable to me and comfortable to my clients, for me to work with them and to and one of his neighbors runs a video store. Exactly, right? There's little details that make a story come alive and that are so great. Now, so I this is the part of the webinar where you sell something, right? I don't have an AI course. All I wanted to do was share with you folks the experiments I've been doing, what I've been finding helpful, and maybe ease the fear a little bit. If you watch this presentation and you're still like, I don't want AI near my creativity, all the power to you, and I totally understand. But I want you to at least be aware of what is out there and what it can do. And hopefully this presentation helped you do that. And so if I can have a few minutes of your time, we can certainly go into a question and answer section here. But I would like to talk to you a little bit more about my story plan intensive, given it is starting in a week's time. If you folks are all right with it, I wouldn't mind telling you a little bit more about it. Let me know, please, in the chat if you're all right with me going a little off the AI topic here and sharing with you a bit of information about story plan. Sure. Okay, great. Awesome. Tina says sure. So guys, I'm taking Tina and Laura as the spokespeople for the group. Daniel too. Thanks, folks. Let me talk to you a little bit about story plan. Okay, so story plan intensive kicks off the first Monday of September, so that would be Monday, September 4th. And the outcome of this free program is simple: craft a rock solid outline for your book in 30 days or less while developing and improving your writer's craft skill set. How it works is you get daily writer's craft training videos delivered straight to your inbox. And these are daily lessons where I'm going to dive into the intricacies of writer's craft and storytelling and share valuable insights and practical techniques to elevate your planning process. There's also the weekly homework assignments that I mentioned earlier in this presentation, and which I think if you are interested in playing around with ChatGPT, this will be an excellent opportunity to do that. Because as I said, these homework assignments aren't "are you paying attention" tests. They are idea generators. They are meant to stimulate creative thinking and get you understanding the mechanics of your story that much better. And so those go out on Fridays. I ask that you complete them by Mondays. You get the weekend to work on this stuff and make major strides forward in the planning and understanding of the mechanics of your book. And then there's guidance and support. So throughout the program, you have access to a supportive community of fellow writers who share your passion via our Facebook group. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of social media in the world, but Facebook is a tool lots of people have. And this is the 5th or 6th time I'm running Story Plan now. So we've got a Facebook Facebook group with a couple hundred writers in it. And so you can get in there, and there's people who are either going through the program with you this round or who have been through it in the past. And you can see that you're not alone learning this stuff. You can see that the way other people have gone about using the program to plan their stories. And so, really cool little program for free. So, if you want to check it out, head on over to www.kevintjohns.com/story dash plan. You know what? I'll type it in the chat in case anyone in the chat wants to try it. Free story dash plan. There you go. Okay, now here is the salesy part. Let's talk sales for a moment here, if that is okay. Let me just get my screen back up. There we go. Okay. I'm started doing a new thing. So when I was first doing this program, I was like, is this going to work? Like I said, this is now like the 6th time we've had a couple hundred people go through the program. And I'm at a point now where I am guaranteeing success if you join our group coaching calls. So this is a paid upgrade. This is not the free component. If you want to do the program for free, it's amazing. You get all the training, you get all the homework assignments, you get the community. But with the group coaching calls, I'm willing to promise you at the end of September or the first week of October, you are going to have an incredible, rock solid outline for your book complete, and you are going to be happy and satisfied with the experience or your money back 100%. I know the program works. We've done it with hundreds of writers lots of times now. So here's how the coaching portion works. Each Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we meet on a Zoom call, a live Zoom conference call. On the calls, I answer questions about the homework, about the training that week, about people's books. We break through blocks. If people are like, I really don't know what should happen next, or I've already written my book and now I'm reverse engineering it. I don't know how to fix the fact that I don't have an object of desire. And we go, okay, here's how we can get an object of desire in there. And it's really a creative space where we're brainstorming ideas. I'm your creative partner. We've got other people there. We're bouncing off ideas, and we're finding that community vibe and helping each other through the program. And most important of all, you get community and you get accountability. So this is a pretty intense program. I call it Story Plan Intensive. It starts out fairly easy and people are kind of like, this is it. And by the end, you're either blown away, your mind is blown about how much you've learned and how much you've done in a month, or you've given up. Because it is a lot of work. It is a lot of information. It is a lot of training. And so if you want to make sure that you finish the program and that life doesn't get in the way, because life always gets in the way, take advantage of the accountability that comes with the group coaching. It's super affordable, but if you lay down a little bit of money, and if you know I'm on that call every Wednesday expecting you to be there, it's that much more accountability to stick with it and to get the program done. And listen, we have fun. I think hopefully we had some fun on the webinar tonight, right? I mean, we were just talking tech stuff and we still managed to have a bit of fun. So we certainly laugh. This is what I say about my coaching. We take art seriously. I think art matters. I was talking to someone recently where they were saying, oh, I had to go to my day job, so I haven't been able to get that much writing done. And yeah, we all need jobs to sustain our lives. We need to buy food, right? We have to do that. But I would argue your creative expression is also life sustaining. So in the same way you need to go to work to get food so that you can keep on living, I believe you also need to create so that life is worth continuing to live, right? So anyway, it's really easy for the immediate stuff to get in the way for the stuff that I think really matters, the soul work or the creative work or whatever you want to call it. So hop on those group coaching calls and you get the accountability and you get to have fun too. There's a ton of benefits to it. We just talked about accountability. It's always a diverse group of writers. We get people from all around the world, and we get people writing in all sorts of different genres. And so you get that experience of rubbing shoulders with folks from other parts of the world, or just other parts of the literary world that you aren't familiar with. It's an opportunity to share knowledge. You get to learn from me. I've been teaching writing for a decade, but you also get to learn from the other folks. Everyone on this call right now, I know, has a knowledge and experience that would be valuable to share with the group. And so that's what these Zoom calls, where we're all on camera, we all have microphones, we can all share our knowledge, are great for. It's really motivating just to be there going through the program with other people. I always talk about how writing is such delayed gratification. You wait forever for people to finally read the book and cheer you on or celebrate you or say, hey, good work. So a coaching program like this, where we're doing it as a group, it's like, hey, you completed week 2's homework. That's a tough week. Way to go. And you get that motivation, you get that inspiration that otherwise can be really challenging and really delayed if you're, just waiting until the book is done. We talked about community already. I think it's so important to, when you're an artist, to do so in a group, in a community, so that you're not a crazy person all alone. And also, we all need help. On the front of a book, you pick up a book. Scott Smith is always sitting next to me, so he always gets used as the example. But, this is the cover to A Simple Plan. It just says A Simple Plan and Scott Smith. And your average person looks at that and they're like, wow, Scott Smith wrote that book and did almost everything related to it by himself. No, he didn't. He had editors, he had proofreaders, he had beta readers. He's probably part of a critique group. There's probably a group of professional authors that he's a part of or pays to be a part of, where he's bouncing it off other A-list authors. There are developmental editors. There's typesetters who decide what the book's going to look like. There's cover designers. The person who wrote the copy on the back of the book probably wasn't Scott Smith. A marketer probably wrote the copy on the back of that. So every book is created in a community environment anyway. Like, every book is an effort of multiple people. And so don't feel like you need to do it all alone. Don't feel like you need to do it all yourself. Get support, get inspiration, get feedback, because once you hit the publication phase, you're going to be doing that anyway. And of course, you're going to be working with me. I have a master's degree in English literature. I've written over a dozen books in every genre. I've worked with hundreds of writers. And on these calls, I'll be able to provide expertise, industry insights, and personalized advice to help you overcome obstacles and refine your story plan. I've taken hundreds of writers through this exact program, and I know what challenges you're likely to face, and I know what it takes to excel. So I invite you to join Story Plan group coaching for just $87. So for less than $100, we're talking about daily Writers Craft training videos, weekly homework assignments, access to the Facebook group, 5 1-hour-long group coaching sessions, 5 hours of coaching for less than $100. And when you sign up for coaching, you have an opportunity for another upgrade, which is for me to read and comment on all of your homework. So throughout the program, you're sending me your homework. I'm going over it. I'm saying, this is working. You should go here to get more resources. This part, it needs to be fixed. And I'm going over your homework each week with a fine-tooth comb. Sometimes people ask me, can I get that editorial advice on my homework without joining the group coaching? And I say no, because at the end of the day, I'm not an editor. An editor is perfectly fine looking at a piece of writing, fixing, and handing it back to you. Maybe if you're lucky with an editorial level letter that says, here's why I made the changes I made. That's not what I do. What I do is teach people why those editorial changes need to be made. And the way everyone needs to be coached is different. You're all unique people. You're all unique writers. And so I have no interest in looking at someone's material, sending them back an email or a letter and some comments without knowing who they are. Where are they at in their writing journey? How do they respond to feedback? Do they need to be coddled and hugged and say, hey, you're doing great? Or do they need to be pushed and said, you can do way better, young man, right? We're all different. We all respond differently. So no, I won't review your homework unless you're in group coaching. But if you're in group coaching, you can choose that upgrade. Most people do, and I go over your homework for you. Also, you get a cool bonus when you join group coaching. Arcane Covers is a cover designer that specializes in stunning, custom, and pre-made book covers for paranormal romance, dark fantasy, urban fantasy, and paranormal women's fiction, as well as symbol and typography covers. So if you're not in the paranormal space, but you would still like a cool typographical cover like the Scott Smith one that we were looking at, you could do that. So you get a 10% off a cover from Arcane Covers just for signing up as a nice thank you bonus. And don't forget, you get that 100% guarantee of success. People who join Story Plan group coaching absolutely rock the program. In fact, I'm willing to guarantee your success. Do the program, attend the coaching calls, complete the homework assignments, and if you don't have an outline for a book that you're satisfied with by the first week, I did update the slide. By the first week of October. This is the second time now I've given this presentation and forgot to update that slide. Either way, if you finish this program, whether it was last July or next October, if you're not happy with where you end up at the end of the program, money back. All right, so you're getting the videos, you're getting the homework assignments, you're getting the Facebook group. That's the free stuff everybody gets. When you join group coaching, you get 5 live group coaching calls. You get an opportunity to receive personalized feedback from me on your homework and your outline. You get 10% off a book cover from Arcane Covers, and you get 100% guaranteed success or your money back. And this is not complicated. I'm not Walmart. There's not a form you need to fill out. You email me or we get on a call. You say, Kevin, I'm disappointed with where I ended up at the end of this program. I say, no problem. I have a button I click, one button to refund you. No big deal. But I don't think it's going to happen because I've seen success time and time again. All right. So if you would like to join Story Plan group coaching, just sign up for Story Plan Intensive using that link that we showed earlier, the kevintjohns.com/story-plan. On the thank you page after you sign up is the opportunity to join group coaching. Go ahead and do that. I'd love to work with you in September to get your story plan together. All right, we're at the top of the hour. Any questions? Let's open it up for questions for any questions about anything we covered in the presentation. So any of the AI stuff, the Chat GPT stuff, anything about Story Plan Intensive, the free version, or the super ridiculously affordable upgraded group coaching version, let me know. And while I'm waiting for you to ask a question, folks, Daniel earlier in the call called me a nerd. And so I'll take the moment to point out I was watching some YouTube videos about how to better light yourself during a webinar. And one thing they all said was you got to have some light in the background that just kind of like fills out the space in the background and gives the viewers something half decent to look at there, but that isn't super bright to take away from your face at the front. Anyway, long story short, that's a lightsaber. Me and my kids are collectors of lightsabers. Exactly, Daniel. So YouTube said put a light back there, so I threw a lightsaber back there, and that's what that blue light is. All right, there is a questions channel. Yep, no questions in there. It's the top of the hour. Well, thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I really appreciate you coming on. I hope AI was a little less scary for you after this. And if you are interested in experimenting with it, get in there. I mean, that's what I did. I tried different things, and we all determine our own comfort level in terms of at what point do we feel like we're compromising our artistic vision by using software or at what point are we just saying, hey, I'm fine doing this research a little bit quicker than it otherwise would have taken? All right. Thanks so much, everyone. If you haven't done Story Plan yet, I'd love to see you on it, free or paid. If you have any questions about it or about any of the stuff we covered today, feel free to shoot me an email. Have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday evening, and hopefully I'll see you again soon before too long.